Hello guys, hope you're doing well as always, and welcome back to another video, a different video today, because today we are going to be talking about Harry Styles' new album. Now, for those of you that know me, you will know that I live and breathe this man. I was a fan of One Direction when they were out, and as soon as I heard Harry's first album, I was just like, this is sick. And I want to say he's kind of reaching the point now where he's potentially an icon of our generation. To be honest, I don't even think that that's that much of a controversial thing to say. When you get to a point in your career where you're selling out stadiums, I think that's a pretty big statement. But focusing on the album, it obviously dropped last night at midnight. I stayed up for it, lit some candles, had a great time. It was genuinely an experience and a half. To give you an idea of the kind of songs from Harry Styles that are my favorite, just to give you guys an idea of the style, no pun intended, of Harry's songs that I like, I'd probably say that my favorite two, I love Cherry, but my favorite has got to be Only Angel. It's just such a great song. I love the choir going into it at the beginning, and I just love the rock sound of that song. Just before we get into my rankings for the tracks of this album, I do just want to say that these are not the ones that I think are the best musically. These are just the ones that are my personal favorites. Please just don't hate me. It's just my opinion. If you guys are new to the channel though, please make sure to like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and maybe I'll do some more of these kind of videos. I love talking about music. I love music in general. It's amazing how you can just hear a song straight away and just connect to it on an emotional sense, from whether you like the sound of it, from whether lyrics speak to you and you can relate that to points of your life. I just love it. So I would love to do more of these kind of videos. If you guys are interested, then just let me know in the comments, because you can see plenty more where this came from. In 13th place, I am going to go with Daydreaming, and I think it's a good song. I will just say all of the tracks on this album I do think are good songs, but this one for me, I listened to it first time around and I thought this is going to need a few more listens really to just get in my head. I think it's very funky, which I like. I think the whole album in general actually has got a lot more funk to what his other albums had, which is a very cool thing. I remember George Michael going down a similar kind of route. He had his first couple of albums and then it kind of went a bit funky and a bit quirky and a bit cool. This song, however, I am putting in 13th place purely on the basis that it didn't jump out at me in the same way that some of the other tracks did later on down the line. I've been on Twitter and I've already seen quite a few people saying that this is their favorite, so I know I've upset a few people already. I am sorry, okay? It's just my opinion. One thing as well with this list is it is almost certainly going to change in about 2 weeks time, so who knows, this could be top in about a week, but we'll see. This is just my first impressions. Then in at 12th place, we've got Satellite. That's the one that I've gone for in this position. Again, another one that I think is going to take a few more listens. Personally, I really like the satellite imagery, the idea of kind of just looking down on someone and being like, yes, I like it. It's almost like you're keeping an eye on that person. And for me, I love a good love song. I'm a very soppy guy when it comes to romance and stuff like that. I also like the kind of spacey sounds at the beginning of the song and throughout. I thought that was very cool and obviously matched the title and the theme of the song. I thought the chorus was very good, and I also like the build up at the end of the song. I thought that was very cool. But a bit like Daydreaming, it's not quite good enough to get higher up the list in my humble opinion in terms of what are my favorites. Again, I've really got to stress this because I just don't want the comment section to batter me. If there is anyone watching, this channel is very hit or miss with some of the videos I upload, so I'm hoping this is going to be a hit. Do me proud, Harry Styles fans, please. I need all the help I can get. Moving swiftly on into 11th place, once again, no pun intended, we've got Love of My Life, and I think there's something so beautifully poetic about the fact that Harry chose this as the last song, because when we got the teaser trailer for the album coming out, he used the instrumental for this reversed, and that is just the most Harry Styles thing to do. The first snippet that we hear of the album is the last track on the album. I think it's just a great circular way to bring it back round. I think it's very, very good. Moving away from the sentiment and into the actual substance of the song, I think it's kind of like the opposite in a way to As It Was, in terms of As It Was is this very grand song that gets you wanting to dance, but the lyrics are so dark, whereas with this song, the lyrics are quite haunting, but also really sentimental and really nice and just kind of, oh, love of my life, you know? There's no better way for me to phrase it, and I think it's a great way to end a great album. However, it didn't jump out to me in the same way that some of the other ones did further up in the list, which we will get into at some point. If this is your favorite song, I'm sorry. It feels bad putting these songs so low down because they're all good songs in my opinion, but it's just favorites. It's just ranking my favorites. Please don't hurt me. Please. I beg. In at 10th place, we've got Music for a Sushi Restaurant. I think it's a great way to introduce the album based on the fact that it just sets the tone for how the album is going to sound. I've already spoken about how funky this album is in general, and as I say, it just sets the precedent for the rest of the tracks and what to expect on the album. It actually feels like to me that it should belong almost on an old FIFA soundtrack, and that's in no way a diss, because the old FIFA soundtracks absolutely slapped. You've got the trademark Harry Styles owls in there, and you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. I was not disappointed with with that. It's a great album track. It was brilliant when I listened to it through earphones. I can imagine it sounding great in the car as well, but only good enough to get 10th place on my list, unfortunately. In 9th place now, I've gone for Cinema. It's a lot more upbeat. It's funky again. A good album track, and the backing vocals are so good on this song. It's really, really good. And that's one of the things that I think Harry Styles is really underrated for, is just how good the harmonies are and the backing vocals. It's so good, especially towards the end of the song where he's like screaming the lyrics out. That's just going to be amazing in the car. It's catchy, it's repetitive in a good way, and I absolutely love the outro. But it's also another one of those songs that didn't quite jump out to me and go, yeah, I need to keep on listening to that. A lot of these songs at the bottom, I just think that give them a few more listens, this list is going to change so drastically. So these are just my first impressions, and I'm sure I'll look back in about a month's time and cringe at this list going, I cannot believe I put this certain song so low or this certain song so high. But first impressions, you know, they're always going to change. In 8th place now, we've got the first song on this list where when I listened to it, I was like, I really like that. I think that's really cool. It's Keep Driving. Now, I'm somebody who has tried writing songs many times in the past, some better than others. And one of my kind of toxic traits when it comes to it is I'm too literal. Whereas one of the things that I love about Harry Styles and the songs that he writes is the food imagery that he puts in and just the imagery in general. But I'm looking through the lyrics at the moment. You've got hot wax. Obviously, that's not food, but it's just something that puts an image in your mind and a feeling in you when you're listening to those words. Maple syrup, coffee, pancakes for two, hash brown, egg yolk. Off the cuff, you're like, what are you on about? But when you listen to it with the actual music, I love it. I just love it so much. Like, there's just something about food imagery in songs, in Harry Styles songs especially, that I'm just listening to and going, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. He's saying nothing with saying everything, and I love it. I think the instrumental to it's really good. I think he's got a great vibe to it. It sounds like a really good song to drive to. I love driving, so the idea of just keep driving is just perfect. And it's almost like this idea of when things aren't quite going well, just keep driving, keep going. And I think it's a nice message to the song. I think it's a very good song. Only good enough to get into 8th place. And the fact that I've... It's a helicopter. Okay, now that's gone. The fact that I've gushed so much over this song and it's only in 8th place kind of sets the tone for how the rest of this video is going to be. In 7th place, I've gone for Grape Juice, and this is another one that when I first heard it, it really stuck out to me, especially the chorus. I listened to the whole album with earphones in, and that whisper at the beginning, I was lying there with my eyes closed, Harry's whispering in my ears. It was a great moment. I love the build up in the song, and then the chorus is just so freeing. It's like you're flying. I'm literally lying in bed with my eyes closed, and it's just such a release of all of that build up. It's so freeing. It's such a great song, and it's really, really cool. I think all round this is a very, very good song. Not quite good enough in my opinion to get higher on the list. However, I could totally understand if this is higher in some of your guys' lists. In 6th place, I've gone for As It Was. Now, this one might be controversial because obviously everyone's heard it. We've had so long to digest it, and maybe in a weird way, this kind of damages how high this is on my list for that reason, because I've had time to get used to it. I don't have the same excitement as I do with some of these newer songs. Using the same chord progression as Take On Me by a-ha, but in a slightly different order, I think is so clever. And instantly you hear it and you go, this sounds kind of familiar, but it sounds really, really cool. And I already spoke about how it's such an upbeat song with such somber lyrics, and I don't really hear a lot of artists do that. The only artist that I can think of off the top of my head that does that is the 1975, and that's one of the reasons why I love them so much. I think it's very clever. It sounds amazing in the car. I've had many jams in the car, in the gym, listening to that. It is just fantastic. And whilst the song sounds so upbeat, the backing vocals are just so haunting and so dark that it almost does add that element of what the song's actually about, which is really, really cool. When I first listened to the song and I watched the music video, I remember thinking, this isn't what I was expecting. And the more you listen to it, the more you go, actually, this is really good. And it's got to a point now where it's the first song that I put on in the car. So, I mean, that speaks volumes about the song, speaks volumes about the album, and probably a lot of the songs lower on this list as well. But As It Was is in 6th place for me. 5th place, we've gone for another one that we've kind of heard doesn't quite qualify as a single because it's only just technically got released, but we did see it at Coachella. It is Boyfriends. I love this song. I love Fleetwood Mac. They're one of my favorite artists, and this gives me Fleetwood Mac vibes. It's very similar to Cherry in the way that it's just so raw and so emotional. It's just the voice, the guitar, the harmonies, and it's so beautiful. I was interested to see how the actual studio performance would be compared to his performance at Coachella, and it did not disappoint. I was hooked straight away from the reversed intro. I was like, what is that? I was trying to record it. You can't screen record it, obviously, because you just pirate it or whatever. I tried reversing it on Snapchat and it didn't work, and ultimately I resorted to Twitter and found out that it's actually the last two lines of the song reversed, which I think is really cool because straight away it has me hooked going, I need to know what that is. In traditional Harry Styles fashion, he leaves a little clue, you find it out and you go, fair enough. Like you almost expect it to be this massive thing, find out it's still very cool, but it's not what you were expecting. You're almost expecting to hear something really cool and abstract and not what you're expecting, and then you listen to it back and you go, oh, it's just the last two lines, but you like it still, or I certainly did. It's a very vulnerable song, and I think it's one that girlfriends can relate to, boyfriends can relate to, in terms of we're not perfect, and I mean people in general, but boyfriends, you know, there's always this kind of concept that guys don't truly get it, and no matter what the situation, they're just missing it, they're just not getting it. And it is true to a degree. You know, I've been in relationships where stuff's been going on and you just sit there and you try and understand, but you just don't get it. And it's a very vulnerable song for that reason, and very reflective potentially of his own actions, or potentially of just his observations on life in general. And I think it's a very interesting one that can relate to a wide variety of people. One of the bits as well that really stuck out to me is just that last part of the song where he's going on about being stuck in a daydream and being back at it again. Because for me personally, I can relate to that. I've had people in my life where you sit there and you think, I'm really not happy and I should do something about this, but for whatever reason you just live in the daydream. You make it more romantic in your head than what it actually is. So for me, that lyric immediately jumped out when I heard it at Coachella. I mean, I wasn't actually there, I was just in my bedroom watching it, you know what I mean. But all in all, I just think this is such a beautiful song, and I think it is very relatable for a lot of people for that reason. The harmonies as well, by the way, are just amazing, and I know I said earlier that that's something that I don't think Harry Styles gets enough credit for, but it just really fleshes out the song, makes it so nice and intimate, and I just think all round it's a very, very good song. Moving on into fourth place in a slightly similar vein, I've gone with Little Freak, and I know that I've kind of touched upon having toxic people in your life that you kind of let go of, and for me this song is just so relatable for me, because it's the idea of letting go of that person, but then also having a heart so big where you can't truly erase that from your brain, because whatever you've gone through, whatever kind of experience that you've had with a certain person, when you let go of them, there will be times where you sit down and you think about that person, not necessarily in the nicest of ways, or you just reflect. And for me, this song is very reflective of whether it's a relationship that Harry Styles has been in or just the person in the song. You sit high atop on your kitchen counter is just like taking the moral high ground for me, in terms of you're always up there and I'm always going to be down there. And as I've said, I can totally relate to that based on people that I've had in my life. You just get people like that. Your delicate point of view as well just so feeds into that narrative of someone who is just never wrong, and if you dare go against their opinion, my god, it will just start World War III. But ultimately this song really reached out to me, because I think where certain people aren't in your life, you don't care what they're up to, but there'll be times where I'll sit there and I'll think about times in my life with certain people, and you do look back and you do just sort of think, you know, I wonder what they're up to now, just out of curiosity, because I think that's a wonderfully kind of normal thing to do, where you can't truly completely let go of what's happened in your life. You can deal with stuff, but you can't truly let go of certain people, certain things that have happened. And I think this song is just such a beautiful way of portraying that. It's very spacey, it's very personal, and it's definitely a song for when you're in your feels. But I just think it's so harrowing and so kind of intimate that it really just connects with you, or it did with me anyway. That's why it's so high on my list, because straight away I listened to it and I was like, I cannot wait to listen to this song again. There will just be certain songs that you might hear for the first time and straight away you go, I know exactly what you mean, because I've been in that position and you're saying all of the things that I felt. And that's why I love this song. That's why it's so high up on my list. Let's go into the next one. Third place, and the somber vibes are unfortunately continuing for this one, it is Matilda, and this is such a beautiful story, such a well written song, and another one about just letting go of all of the shit in your life. It's so raw and so emotional. I think the chorus for it is just so amazing, because it's kind of this really sad story where this girl grows up in an unloved family, very much like the narrative of the Roald Dahl novel. And I know I spoke about George Michael earlier, but this song seems to me like one of those kind of really special George Michael songs, because for me George Michael was one of those artists where when I went through a rough time in my life, like emotionally, he was always there, and his music was almost like having an arm around you just to comfort you and say, do you know what, it's okay, you know, you're not the only one that's felt this way, and here is a song to show you that. And for me, I think this song will really appeal to people in that kind of way. I'm so lucky that in my life I surround myself with amazing friends. I've got an amazing family, and everyone is so supportive and so wonderful that for me, I don't listen to this song and go, oh yeah, like I'm Matilda. But unfortunately, there will be people in the world who are Matilda. And I just think that song is so beautiful because it's offering hope for people whose world might not have any hope, where you're so suffocated by the way that your family treat you. But he's right in what he says, you know? You throw a party with all the people that you love. Let go of the people that don't treat you the way that you should be treated. And I know I've said it so many times, it's such a beautiful song. It was one of those ones where when it came on, I just lay there and I stopped what I was doing and I just closed my eyes and I listened. Really emotional, such a beautiful story. And for me, I think it really warrants its place so high up in my leaderboard, if you like. The last two tracks are very much upbeat, so we've left the somber bits behind us, so wipe your tears, guys. It's okay. It's all uphill from here. And in second place, we've got Late Night Talking. I said earlier on in the video, I'm a massive sucker for romance, and there's just something so amazing when you find that connection with someone and you just lie there messaging about anything and everything all night, and it's such a great feeling, you know? It's really, really exciting, exhilarating, the way that somebody can just flip your world upside down when they've just come out of nowhere. And that's one of the beautiful things with love and falling for someone. You will just go from your day-to-day life and then realizing that there's so much more to it because you have this person who's just come in and just rearranged your world. I'm all for it. And this song is, again, it's funky. You can dance to it. I think the melodies are really, really good in this song. So catchy. And all in all, just a very, very good track. When I first heard it at Coachella, I thought, this is okay. It didn't jump out at me straight away. The more I listen to it, the more I relate to it, the more I'm like, this is just a great, great song. Now that takes us to first place on my list now, and I have gone for Daylight. Now this one might be a little bit of a surprise to some people because I don't think that musically it's the best song on the record. I think if we were going to give an award for that, for me, in terms of the best song, it would probably be Matilda. However, these are my favourites. And my favourite from listening to this album for the first time is Daylight. I've already spoken about the kind of imagery that I love that Harry Styles uses, and often centering around food. One of my favourite songs of all time is Bluebird by Paul McCartney and Wings. It's a really, really nice song. I love the imagery of, if I was a bird, I'd fly to you. You'd be the spoon, dip you in honey so I could be sticking to you. It has been in my head all day. It's just so silly. It's cool. It's so weird but relatable. Again, it feeds into that idea of like when you first fall for someone or when you have so much affection for someone, you just want to be with them all the time, almost be suffocated by their presence. And that's why I love that imagery, because it's such a playful and silly way of saying that, and something that for me, again, I'm such a sucker for romance and that kind of stuff, that when I listen to that, I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I love the breakdown bit where it kind of builds up with the guitars and the drums. It's very, very cool. I think the verse melodies are so catchy. The chorus melody is so catchy, and this is going to be the first one on in my car for a long time, I can tell. I'm going to play it until I'm sick to death of it. It's a fantastic song, and that does unfortunately cap off my ranking. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please do let me know, A, if you want to see more of these kind of videos, but more importantly, I want to see your guys' rankings. I want to see how my ranking compares to yours. Let me know what you think of mine. Please be nice, you know? Treat people with kindness, all that good stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching anyway. I think that this is going to be potentially the start of something new that I do on this channel, because it tends to be sort of centered around games and football and sport and that kind of stuff, but music is a massive passion of mine. I love relating songs to experiences from my life, and that's, as I said, why people like music, because you hear a song, you relate it to your life, and it becomes the best song you've ever heard. But without further ado though, guys, I'm going to end the video there, so thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, please do subscribe, and I hope you have enjoyed. See you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace and love.